Nearly 3,000 dog attacks were recorded on animals and humans across the city last year. That's up more than 1,000 from 2020. And the number of dogs officially classified as menacing is surging to over 6,400. Experts put the increase down to a growing population of dogs since the COVID lockdowns when everybody got a little puppy. Fewer animals being desexed, more unregistered dogs, and lack of education among some owners. The Auckland Council's animal management says despite the jump, the actual number of attacks is likely to be underreported. Animal shelters are overwhelmed. They say they've got more than 6,000 dogs impounded and many euthanized due to aggression or lack of homes. And in response, the council has ramped up efforts to promote responsible ownership, microchipping, desexing, registration drives, and they say they've issued over 5,500 fines for non-compliance. However, calls for a dedicated dog task force to be established has been quashed by Mayor Wayne Brown. He came out in the weekend saying existing council bodies are already addressing the issue. Well, I mean, I'm not saying they're not working hard, but just look at the numbers. He supports more targeted control measures and central government reform, but in the meantime, more and more communities are having to contend with roaming and aggressive dogs. Dog Safe Workplace Director Joe Clough says dog attacks could be increasing for several reasons, including growing media attention. And she joins me now. Joe, it is lovely to talk to you again.
Hi, Leah. How are you?
I am good. I mean, it's sad to see these numbers. I mean, these are big numbers of roaming dogs and attacks rising. Were you surprised by the jump in reported attacks? Did you see it coming?
I have seen it coming. I've got statistics dating back to 2005 when we only reported 11,000 incidents in New Zealand.
Oh, wow.
Last year it was 29,233. But what I do find very surprising is the lack of continuity in reporting. So with the ACC reports, incidents surrounding dogs, whether it be knocking people over or biting them, in Auckland last year was actually over 9,000.
Oh,
So the
okay.
3,000 that you have got from council is only what has been reported to council.
Why is that, Joe, in your thoughts? Why are people holding back from reporting?
Quite often they're scared the dog will be euthanized. They don't want the animal to be injured. And if you think about it, if it's a friend's dog and your child's being rough and the dog's bitten it, you know it's the child's fault. Or if you yourself have done something to provoke the dog. There are so many different incidents that occur, and it is for lack of education. I'm actually at a client's site now. I've just finished training with Watercare for their guys out in the field, and a lot of them still didn't know that when a dog wags its tail, it doesn't mean it's happy. It just means it's engaged.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
there's a lot of it.
lot of education that is needed. And Joe, I want to get that. We're going to get to that with you. I think too about, not reporting maybe an attack. I wondered if sometimes people, like you said, they're afraid it's going to get euthanized. Me and my dogs were attacked about 3 years ago by a German Shepherd. And when I got and there were two girls there, like it was their dog, they hid the dog because animal management control could not find them, even though I gave a very good description. But they asked me what I wanted to happen. And I was like, well, I mean, I don't want it to be, because he said, if you find it, we find it, do you want it euthanized? What's your, and I said, well, no, I would like the girls to be trained. Well, I don't know if you can force them into that, but I'd like it muzzled when it's out. So I don't know if some people also know what the process is, and maybe that's why they don't report.
I think that's also possible, but there's also a lack of response. I was talking to a reporter a couple of weeks ago, and she was attacked. Her dog, and in fact, her dog actually was attacked, and her boyfriend was also bitten. And when she reported it, she was told there were too many dogs on the property and they weren't going to enter the property.
Oh, okay.
So I think that there are definitely some issues around how everything is happening and being delivered, and I'm very surprised that Wayne Brown doesn't think there needs to be more action around it.
I agree with you on that, Joe. I'm quite disappointed by that. I mean, listen to those numbers, and you came in with even bigger numbers, and he feels that they're coping as it is. I mean, the stats would tell a different story.
Absolutely. But also the big thing that's going on out there is when they are being educated, there are different stories being told on how to behave. I've challenged Auckland Council on some of their training, and I'm probably going to get in trouble for saying this, but the training that they are going out and giving is old. It's 20 years old.
Oh,
Telling
wow.
someone to put their hand out for the dog to sniff has been disproved. Touching the dog on the chest or chin when you greet it has been disproved.
Yeah.
So that concerns me.
Can we look at those, Joe? Because you said, reading the dog's body language, a wagging tail isn't always a happy dog. So you just said it's the dog engaging with you. What are some of if that is old training, what you just mentioned, what is up-to-date training? What should we be looking for and doing and not doing?
So first off, if you want to approach a dog that isn't yours, the owner has to be there and you have to get permission from the owner. You then wait for the dog to come and engage with you. You do not approach the dog. And if the dog does engage with you, you then only pat it on the shoulder or the side and back. Now, I think even some of that has changed since I spoke to you last year, Leah, with the letting the dog come up and sniffing you.
Yeah.
I'm part of a UK dog bite prevention committee, and they give me the latest stuff.
Okay.
And they've just done a review or a survey of 406,000 dog owners.
Oof.
80% of them, when asked if they recognised whether their dog was anxious or wanted to engage, said they did. But when they did the test, in fact, only 24% of them understood that their dog did not want to engage or was anxious.
No. Oh dear. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's sad because I mean, anyone who owns dogs might be listening saying, I read my dog and I can read other dogs, you don't need to tell me this. But, actually, Joe, just over in the weekend, I, have to admit, I stuffed up quite royally, and luckily the dog was a lovely young thing. But we've had dogs for years. We've still got one dog, and we were walking him, and I've seen this guy lots of times in our neighbourhood, and it's a kind of a Labrador collie cross, beautiful young boy. He's only about 10 months old, and he had it on a lead, and I said, oh geez, he's growing, isn't he? And he's like, yeah, gosh, because I saw him when he was a puppy. He goes, yeah, he's 10 months old. He's very calm for 10 months. So he wanted to engage. He came up and sniffed me, and I did pat him on the back and shoulder. I said, oh, you're a good-looking boy, and he was happy. But you know what I did, Joe? I forgot, because I know I did what I do to my dog, and we trained him. We touch his face a lot. Like I do a lot of around his nose and mouth and eyes, and I grabbed his head, gave him a bit of a scrump round his face, and he didn't like that because I was a stranger. He didn't bite, but he did a real quick jerk at me that if he had bared teeth, he might have got me. And I thought, Leah, you're an idiot. It's so easy to do, Joe, is what I'm saying, even for dog owners.